Hello and welcome to another Company of Heroes 3 game. My name is Fancy Josh, and today I've got a game for you between Nostalgia as our Africa Corps, and his opponent today is going to be WordBearers as our British. So I have not had WordBearers on the channel before. Looking forward to what he's got in store for us. Nostalgia, of course, I've cast him a few times, most recently against Red Wings in that co-cast with Shark. So fairly standard player, I feel. Definitely very good. And does seem like he's on that grind to rank up. So always respect the grind there. Both players already locking in their battle groups here. British player going for the Australian Defense Battle Group, adding on this Australian Light Infantry for some extra capturing power early in the game. Probably going to see an infantry section next. And our German player has locked in the Italian Combined Arms, adding on the Bersaglieri almost immediately. Again, for that extra capture power. But German definitely going to have an advantage in capture power early with the combination of the Bike and Bersaglieri, despite the Australian Light Infantry opening from our British player. You know, I have been loving seeing all the field defenses. You know, before the patch, I know you guys are probably sick of me saying it at this point, but I'm always encouraging you and myself and everybody that I can talk to build field defenses, and this patch has just done wonders for that. I mean, I see so many more players build little defenses like this, whether it's just sandbags or just barbed wire or combinations of both, constantly defending their territory. It's just really cool to see, because I know how powerful it was in previous iterations of this game, and it's just as powerful in this game, and love to see that. So Australian Light Infantry making it to heavy cover here, but a ton of Bersaglieri in the area. Gonna make short work of this section here. Motorbike backing off, helping out at long range. There is a dingo on the way. So dingoes are, I don't know. So first of all, I love dingoes, and they're pretty good against Africa Corps. They freaking hard counter 250s, and I don't know. You don't see them as often at a high level, and I think part of it is they don't have the capture power, right? So I think that players like to add them on after they've already taken all the territory they need to take, which is the case here for our British player. He's taken just enough territory to be effective, and now he can add on this dingo. Motorbike not been repaired up yet, but is going to get out of there safely. Panzer Pioneers jumping in this house, going to engage long range with those infantry sections, but Panzer Grenadiers on the scene here. Bersaglieri quick marching to help out here. That infantry section's going to have to bail on out. So, I think we're going to see. Here's what our German's going to do next. Yeah, okay, so he is going to go for the light support company. Sometimes you'll see players go for another infantry, or infantry, whether that be a Panzer Grenadier or a Bersaglieri, but I do think it's time for him to switch out. British player probably going to see one more infantry section, I would imagine, although he does have enough fuel to go up and start thinking about Humber Armored Car if that's what he wants to do. But going to choose to go for grenades instead. Maybe potentially concerned about something like a 250 from his opponent, or even a flak half-track, but I guess that's a bit early for that. From a player trying to sneak down some mines, but being found out. And British player managing to find, he knows that all of his opponent's units are on this bottom side, so we're seeing him take away some territory on that top side with just a single unit. We love to see that. Now, I hope for our British player's sake that he has noticed that his opponent is planting mines. There's more than one in the ground, and he should be thinking about minesweepers here, potentially. Infantry section going to lose pretty handily here. Actually taking a AT grenade There, so this bike might go down. Gonna grenade it as well. Maybe expecting the bike to back up, actually missing with the grenade. Gonna get out of there. 2-pounder on the scene. Yeah, and I should have guessed 2-pounder. Of course, that's what he's gonna do, right? I mean, Australian light infantry pretty much always go for the 2-pounder. But I do think it was just a little bit early. But maybe he was concerned that he didn't have enough fuel control. And I guess our German, I mean, he does have enough for support elements in a vehicle, but he instead went for those assault grenadiers, so we're not going to see that early flak half-track that our British player was fearing. Overall, both players have largely ignored the victory points and are very even going into the 6-minute mark here. Both players very focused on this bottom side, too. I mean, we're seeing our British player pretty much roll out down here. He has added on minesweepers, so he's ready for those mines from his opponent. But German player taking advantage of this focus on the bottom side and grabbing some free territory up top. Not that there's a whole lot more for him to grab. We might see him go for this guaranteed fuel point, as I like to call it. But a major flank from these assault grenadiers and flame pioneers. Thinking better of it, though, seeing the dingo there. Pioneers in the middle actually winning that fight against the Bersaglieri and going to disable this mine, so getting his money's worth out of those minesweepers already. Bersaglieri continuing to capture territory there. And still no vehicles for our German. British player going for infantry training here. Love to see that. Infantry training, of course, is very, very good. So, yeah, I mean, so infantry training, if you guys haven't been adding this in your games, I highly, highly recommend it. Even if you just have 3 or 4 infantry, it is really good. But, I mean, if you go up to something like 2 Royal Engineers and 4 infantry sections, it's even better. I mean, it's a 10% bonus to hit, 10% damage, chance to dodge. I think it's 10% reload speed. I mean, it's freaking massive. And actually, let's just look at it while I'm talking about it here. We have a quick moment of quiet. So, infantry, here we go. Oh, it's gonna make me click on the building itself. So yeah, 10% accuracy, reload speed, and harder to hit, plus the veterancy. So then you're like Vet 1, which gives you another 10% harder to hit. So it's buying 20% harder to hit on your infantry sections, and all of a sudden, you can start winning some fights maybe you didn't have any business winning. Assault grenades coming out from our German there. Gonna drive his opponent back. Once again, both players very focused on this bottom side. Armored car, 8 rad armored car on the way for our German here. Haven't seen this unit in a while. So the 8 rad is going to do pretty well here. Of course, the 2-pounder is a significant threat, but 8 rad, ton of mobility, and there's actually still a lot of sight blockers on the map right now. Humber armored car running for its life, retreating to the 2-pounder. 2-pounder did get 1 shot, might get a second. 2 good hits there, but 8 rad moving back a little bit out of range there, and both players going to limp away with all their units intact. German player has teched up to the Bersaglieri bolster, so he's going to have those 6-man squads now. And a heavy machine gun had been added on for a British player there. Was driven back in that fight. So, what is next? Do you think it sort of feels like our British player is not going to go for Stuarts or Humber armored car. I do think he's going to stay on infantry tech here. I could, of course, be wrong, but honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing another infantry section from him. Potentially another 2-pounder or a 6-pounder instead to deal with this armored car. But it does feel like we're going to see him save up and just go straight into Crusader tech later on. Assault Grenadiers closing the gap with this infantry section, gonna shred them at point-blank range. Dingo on the scene to try and help out. Doing a pretty decent job. Bren gun coming down on this upgraded infantry section. Gonna do some serious work here. And, you know, this right here is exactly why I'm wanting our British player to add on another infantry section. I think Bren guns are just God's gift to man here. Ooh, grenade being eaten by those infantry sections, though. His attention focused elsewhere. Hopefully he sees it. He does. But yeah, Bren guns, really, really freaking good. And I mean, they are crazy expensive in terms of munitions, but they can do some serious freaking work. Infantry section trying to chase away this armored car here. That's annoying for our British player to deal with here. And that is the risk of not having light tanks or Humber armored cars, as your opponent can kind of exercise their extreme mobility to flank around and be annoying. Not necessarily inside your base, but just the high mobility in general. It can be annoying wherever the heck they want. So, German player has unlocked the Semavente, as well as the strafing run there. Strafing run, of course, very good. I do expect we're going to see him use that this game. But actually storing up quite a bit of fuel here is our German. So, I mean, based on these numbers here, feels like our German has had a pretty decent fuel advantage most of the game. It's not huge, but it is enough to make a difference. And a recon tractor. No, a Semavente. Okay, see, this is why I shouldn't go off the silhouettes, y'all. Like a recon tractor? No, Semavente. Okay, very fun. I love seeing the Semavente. Of course, did receive a minor buff last patch, basically making its barrage more effective when it lands. And we're going to see it immediately out of the gate here, getting a pretty decent connection against that infantry section. So thank you to our player for demonstrating what I was trying to talk about. And another infantry section on the way for our... Yeah, okay, so he did both of the things that I thought he might do, which is to say 6-pounder as well as another infantry section. I think that extra combat effectiveness... So the thing about this, and this is to all my fellow low-level players here, right, is just because you're adding on more infantry doesn't mean you have to be more spread out on the map, and it also doesn't mean you have to blob. So if you're like me, like maybe you can focus in 2 areas at once, and if you're going to do that and you want more infantry sections, but you're like, I'm worried about losing my extra infantry, just put them together. Run 2 infantry sections on the same hotkey, and send them to the same area at the same time. You know, I know this isn't groundbreaking for those of you that have been playing Company of Heroes for a long time, but for new players, I highly recommend sending a couple guys, you know. Blob less, group up more, you know what I mean? Armored guard taking a ton of damage from that 6-pounder there. And British player finally finally deciding that it's time to get up on this top side. Strafing run on the way here, as well as a barrage. Going to totally shred that heavy machine gun. Almost going down. Barely going to live there. 2 infantry sections, and this is exactly what I'm talking about, right? These guys probably on the same hotkey, headed to the same area. Nothing wrong with that. British player does have enough for more Bren guns, but hasn't added on any yet. Have a machine gun on the way for our German. And yeah, so now our German player, now our British player has enough fuel to start thinking about teching up. That said, he is being denied fuel. But he is sort of reaching that critical amount of fuel to switch into Crusaders rapidly here, and he's got a great little composition here to make that happen. Nice capture of the cutoff point here by our British player, recognizing his opponent was weak. Company command post on the way right now for our British player. Gonna let him get up to Crusaders. So our German player needs to start thinking about how he's gonna deal with medium tanks. He also has a reasonable amount of fuel here, so I do think we're probably gonna see a Panzer company. Panzer Command if we haven't already. Doesn't look like we have. I don't know why I can't keep Panzer Command, Panzer Company straight in my head. But it's where the tanks come from, as you all know. Armored car is still alive here. How many kills does it have? Only 6. That's a little surprising. But has been plenty annoying. As is his job. First player hurting a bit here for victory points. So we'll have to be pretty careful here going forward. But I think he is going to hit medium tanks first. German player is adding on a Panzer command there. Panzer me command. But, yeah, I mean, literally both players going into this tank war with exactly the same amount of fuel. German player, of course, has had more vehicles on the field for longer. But our British player did a little bit more teching, I do think. Panzer Pioneers completely owning that infantry section there. And yeah. Crusader on the way. Well, let's play the game. I do think it is a Crusader.
Territory sector lost, Commander.
Play the game of, is it a Crusader? Silhouette says yes. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Here we go. Crusader. Hooray, I'm getting better. This German mine's still here. I do think this is meant for vehicles. Does seem a little bit far forward, though. I mean, a lot of units kind of make this curve through the bushes there. So maybe not the best placement, but maybe it'll come in clutch later and I'll have to eat my words. So I don't actually know how well the Semavente does against a Crusader. I would have to imagine the Crusader is going to do significantly better, just based on when in the game you can unlock those techs. Another strafing run coming down here. Nearly taking out that heavy machine gun as it bails out. Big push on this right side here. British player stating unequivocally that he needs to take back territory. Somehow still skirting around this mine. And he does have minesweepers on that Royal Engineer, but it isn't currently active. So actually still not seeing and literally going all the way around the mine. But nice job by the Crusader picking up that Bersaglieri on the retreat there. That's a important pickup here. I want to say that's our first loss of the game for either player. And Panzer III on the way here. Is our German teched up to anything? No, he has not. Has picked up the Model 30 as well as artillery cover. So Bersaglieris can be upgraded and artillery can be called down as needed. I heard a mine going off somewhere, picking up those Bersaglieri or Panzer Grenadiers deep in his opponent's territory. Assault Grenadiers way far forward, trying to get some damage on these AT guns, but going to eat a ton of damage for their trouble. Crusader might be thinking about chasing, not quite. Infantry section not afraid. Semavente pushed back by all the AT. Rad Armored Car was fighting on this side. Vet 3 infantry section with Bren gun doing some serious work here. So, I wonder if we're going to see archers this game. They're very uncommon, but might be fun to see. Oh man, Crusader walking into a bit of a trap there, taking some huge damage from those tanks. Did manage to get out of the way though. And British player is going to control 2 of the victory points here, stopping that bleed in a big way and starting to claw his way back into this game. Love the skin from this Panzer III there. Cool to see that. Armored car still alive, helping out at long range. And team weapon training from our British player. Okay. Now, while we have a brief second, let's take a quick look at that. Together. Does something very similar. 15 health, 20% rate of fire, and a whole bunch of veterancy. So that rate of fire can matter a lot on AT guns, right? Because every shot is critical. And if your opponent's not paying attention, you can wipe them out really quickly. Panzer III on the chase here. German player pushing into the middle while this is happening. light infantry is going to make it out of there. Panzer Grenadiers trying to grenade here, but whiffing on that. Here comes a barrage from the Simavente, dealing huge damage there. Not getting a second connection, though. Assault Grenadiers using smoke grenades to close the gap with this heavy machine gun. This heavy machine gun has a really, really good arc. Not being focused down. Here come the AT guns, though. Armor from the German not helping in this engagement. Is coming in on the side, going to run smack dab into those AT guns, which have just repositioned at the perfectly wrong time. AT grenade going to come out and connect with this armored car, and is going to take him down. Nice little pickup for him. Crusader back in the fight here. Assault Grenadiers is completely pinned by the heavy machine gun, and it does look like our British is going to hold that point. So, losing that armored car hurts. Not the end of the world, of course. But feels like... Let's take a quick look. I mean, our German has not teched anything in his armory yet. So doesn't have the self-repair, doesn't have the capturing. Great damage on the Crusader there, but AT guns helping to drive back the German here. Heavy machine gun set up, but is going to be driven back by the Crusader. Great use of combined arms here, right? He has everything he needs to secure this area. So I do think our German player needs to consider not trying to move into this position, right? Because the British player is completely entrenched here. AT guns ready, heavy machine guns ready, even got infantry and tanks in the area. So when your opponent is strong, go around. That's what we're seeing from these Bersaglieri. And this is one of the huge strengths of the Afrika Korps, is the ability to go around. I mean, they are so freaking fast and mobile. I mean, Bersaglieri can do it by themselves, but 250s, motorbikes, you know, use that superior mobility to your advantage. And I mean, if you get the vehicle capture, that's even better. An armored vehicle training on the way for our British players. So this is interesting. He's just going for all of the trainings, which isn't something you see very often. And I think it's partly a product of, well, I mean, I was about to say this game feels like it's been going forever, but we're only 22 minutes in. So I think the fact that he's kept all of his units alive and hasn't actually had a lot of manpower attrition is playing a big part in the fact that he's able to get all these trainings. Now, these Crusaders are over-repaired, right? That's another benefit of the Australian Light Infantry coming from the... Can't remember the name of the tech. Oh, literally called Vehicle Over-Repair. Of course it is. So these guys can take at least one extra shot. One extra penetrating shot, that is. So that's what we're seeing here. Simavente on the flank, though. Getting some pretty decent hits there. 2 Panzer IIIs taking the brunt of the aggression. And it looks like a heavy machine gun went down while that was happening. Was that was this guy here? Looks like the British player did destroy the gun as well. So not going to be able to recrew that. So, you know, our German player has a tank advantage here, but his opponent has a pretty decisive tech advantage. I mean, he's got trained weapon teams, vehicles, and infantry, right? And I mean, we could see him add on an archer, which isn't going to happen, but he is going to add on a whole bunch of Crusaders here in an attempt to run over his opponent. And Crusaders are absolutely the right choice here. In fact, I think he might consider going up to 6-pounders on at least one of those Crusaders to get that increased armor penetration against these Panzer IIIs. See if he ends up wanting to do that. German player is finally added on vehicle survival packages, so I'm going to be able to pop smoke if things get a little dicey there. Assault Grenadiers finding these Bren guns on the side here, but those Crusaders going to put a quick end to that fight. Smoke grenade coming out, not going to do a whole lot. Simavente on the scene. British player repositioning a little bit here, thinking better of this fight, as he should. German player thinking about getting aggressive there, but deciding better of it. Is going to close the distance with those Bersaglieri to stop this capture from happening. 3rd Crusader on the scene now. And nice little push and counter push by our German here, but the British player is capturing up more territory on this bottom side while that is happening. Second infantry section has been upgraded with Bren guns. So, pretty darn... Did I hear an upgrade coming in? Yeah. So he is going to go for the 6-pounder on those Crusaders. I think that's a really good decision. And the longer this game goes... I mean, so our British player has a pretty distinct advantage right now. But the longer this game goes, I think the more opportunity our German player is going to have to get back into this game in a big way. Through his tech on his vehicles, namely vehicle training, potentially some tungsten rounds, but a big tank fight breaking out here. Both players trading damage on tanks. Semavente going to go down there to the upgraded 6-pounder. And looks like the Panzer IIIs still want to fight here, recognizing the Crusaders have backed all the way off. Panzer Grenadiers getting a really good fight against the infantry section. They are going to go down there. Another infantry section charging in. Doesn't look like they're going to go down this time, though. Crusaders come back in to help out. AT guns set up on the Panzer IIIs, but not going to destroy them. Crusaders getting aggressive here. Panzer III is on the retreat. Does look like one Crusader's going to go down, but no, he's not, and the Panzer III is the only one going to go down. So that's pretty darn devastating for our German there. Crusaders even going to go into the base here. And I don't see a way for our German to stop this from happening. Ambulance going to go down here. Now, yeah, I mean, our German would have to destroy all 3 of these tanks without losing his Panzer, and I just do not see that happening. Nice AT grenade, though. Might end up picking him up here. But 2-pounder is set up, and that's going to be a dead Panzer III. So there's going to be the surrender from Nostalgia. What a nice game from our British player. I mean, it was rough in the beginning there, but ultimately was able to turn it around, get to his late game composition with all the tech that he needed to make it work. So, hope you guys enjoyed this game as much as I did, and I will see you in the next one.